In this video, I'm going to walk you through how to make edits to your test, especially in the case where a test is in a failing state. Oftentimes, what can happen is that over time, as your application changes, your test may need to be updated to account for those changes. Reflect takes a lot of actions on your behalf to make sure that tests are resilient over time. But if you're adding steps to our workflow, you'll need to make changes to your test. We want to make that easy for you, and I'd like to show you how you can easily update your tests. So I have a test here that's called Add to Cart Test. It's testing an add to cart scenario in an e-commerce site. You can see that I've run it a couple times, and while the first run was successful, the last two were failing. This is actually a case of a flaky test. So a test that there hasn't been a change to the application, but there's something about the test that needs to be updated to make it repeatable. And so what we're going to do first is actually take a look at the results, and we'll look at the latest results, which is the first row here. This is our test results view, and so this shows you the video of our test having executed, and it actually shows you the test step that is failing. So what you're seeing here is it's stuck on this click on frosted mug link. It's retrying it in the background to try to find that link. You can see it's actually nowhere here. And so that's why this test is failing. So we're going to click on this step here to see some details about what it's found. So the selector section here are the selectors that we had generated automatically when we went and recorded these actions. You can see that they all say invalid text except for this last one right here. And that is because the text that previously existed was frosted mugs, and what we're seeing now is beer mugs. So this is an example of a test step which is flaky. There's something about it that is not repeatable. In this case, what we can assume is that this site has changes their category layout from time to time. And so when we initially recorded it, it was frosted mugs, but now it's beer mugs. So there's a number of things that we can do to edit the tests, but the best thing to do in this case, and our most powerful feature for editing a test, is our re-record feature. And you can see that there's an option to re-record from this step right here. If I click on that, what's going to happen is we take you back into the recording experience and fast forward you directly to the point that you had chosen. So in this case, directly before it hits that failing test step. Once it switches into recording mode, which you can see that it's done here and it shows recording up here, I can actually start interacting with the site again if I'd like. And so this is my opportunity to add some additional steps quickly and do it in a way that's just like how you created the test. You just interact with the site. So what I'm going to do here is that instead of interacting with the glassware and barware category, I'm actually going to go over here to canvas bags and add an item from cart from there. So let's see here. So we've selected that here, and we have an item here, which is the first item in the list. So let's actually add a visual validation for that, and then save that, and then actually hover and click on View Details. All right, so if you look down here at the existing steps, you can see that we did something similar. We had clicked on frosted mugs, we had observed the first mug, and we clicked on View Details. So now that we've recorded kind of duplicate steps for that, what we want to do is actually delete those remaining steps. So I'm going to click on these steps here that are after the re-recording and delete them. So we're going to click on that and delete it. We're going to click on that and delete it. And you can undelete steps, so you can undelete it, then go back and redelete it if you want to. We'll delete this one, and then we'll delete these last two, which again are duplicated. We have that View Details link, which is now in our new re-recording. Great, so I'm going to exit recorder mode, and let's say I wanted to resume the test to just make sure that the rest of the steps succeed. Once you're done re-recording, you can do a couple things. First of all, you can exit without saving. So if you did some things that you don't want saved, totally fine, just exit without saving, and you can do it again. You can resume the test, so that lets you watch the recording, or you can save it. And saving just basically saves those changes. Will go in off and run the rest of the test and notify you if anything failed after it. So it really depends on whether you want to watch everything to completion or save it immediately and kind of move on to something else. In this case, I'm going to click resume. So when I click resume, what's going to happen is it's going to go back into playback mode and play through the rest of the test. And you'll notice that here it's on this step, but it's failing because the element did not meet the visual threshold. What's happening here is that the expected image is the beer house mug, and it's actually a canvas bag now because we're navigating to a different product. So I'm going to stop retrying, and we're going to take action on this particular step. When we detect an error during playback in a re-recording, we're going to give you some contextual suggestions on what you can do to fix up this step. And in this case, we get three options. We have the option to use the latest visuals, so just basically say, hey, what we found in the test, use that as the screenshot. We have the option to replace the step, which means that we'll go back into recording mode and add any additional steps that we want, or we can just delete this step and move on. And again, this is contextual, so depending on the error that you hit, you might see different suggestions. What we can also always do is take actions on our own. So we can click on any step to delete it. It doesn't have to be exactly we don't have to follow one of these three suggestions. In this case, what I'm going to do is click on use latest visuals and click on resume. So now we're going to use that screenshot of the canvas bag. And you'll notice that now, once we proceed through the rest of this test, it's actually going to succeed because all the remaining steps are exactly identical to if you would have added that frosted mug. So now I can click save. And once we click the confirmation modal, we actually now have that successful test run listed here. So now we have this successful test run. This test run took quite a bit more time than the other runs. If we click on edit, you can see that here. There were 20 seconds, 30 seconds, and this took 4 minutes. This was 4 minutes because it's recording my exact actions. It's actually recording of exactly what I did, including the pauses. When we run it, those pauses will not appear in the test. So you don't have to worry about your test being very slow just because you stopped for 20 seconds or 30 seconds to kind of think of what you wanted to do next. The other aspect of this too is that we do not charge you for the 4 minutes. Those 4 minutes are free of charge. So any test that is where you re-recorded, that test run is not counted towards your execution time, which is part of how we bill you for Reflect. So again, in summary, there are many ways to make edits to your test, the most powerful of which is re-recording. In re-recording, you can make multiple edits at different points in time and either watch the test run to completion to make sure everything looks good, or just save it and move on to something else. Thanks for watching, and happy testing.